Hello and welcome to our first video in which I tell you how I list. So at the beginning I'm going to go item by item and then I will fast forward and do super fast at the end. I'm going to list 10 items in this video. It took me about 45 minutes to list 10 items. First thing I do is I go to multi-listing and I'll pick 25 and I'll fill in my custom labels. So I'll fill in whatever box they're in. So it is in box 71 in my garage is what I'm listing. And I'll do basic things. I'm trying to change the category here, but a lot of times I don't. The only reason I'm changing the category now is because it was lost and I wanted a couple of the actual item specifics from clothing. So I'm changing it to clothing so I can use those item specifics when I'm making my master template. And I tend to pick whatever I think I'm going to list the most of. So this 10, I think I have more children's clothes than adult clothes. So I will choose that as a category. But again, I'll just go and change that. I don't necessarily need that as important as the item specifics that I want to fill in. So I want to look at condition. I'm going to put pre-owned. A majority of my clothes are pre-owned. If they are new with tags, that is the minority. So I will just go in and put new with tags if I need to. On condition, I put no rips and stains. If I do have rips and stains, I do take pictures of them and I will go change that if I need to. I always put please refer to photos for measurements and details. I do this especially for children's clothes because the sizes range so crazily. I also do this when I'm doing vintage because a vintage may say a size 11, but it is really more true to a size 2 now. And usually when I'm listing something vintage, I will go back in and be like, this is a vintage item. Please look at this. I'm making sure that my payment policy is right. My shipping policy is right. I'm going to change this to priority padded flat rate. Bubble mailer. Again, that's what I normally ship out in because I'm shipping heavier items like jeans and stuff. If I do first class, I just go in and change that and add all the measurements myself. I'm trying to get as many wide categories as I possibly can. I go ahead and save this and continue later so I can have them in my drafts folder. And I want them in my drafts folder because I want to be able to go at them one at a time. Now with this, I will click on complete a draft and I want to pull pictures up. The folder, the pictures, and I will show the pictures at the end of all my slides, but I'll go in and I'll select the pictures and I'll put the pictures in. And a lot of times I'll do the pictures first and then go and put the title in just so I make sure I know what I'm talking about. I also have all of the stuff written out in a notebook under my inventory stuff so I can keep track of inventory, not on eBay. And a lot of times I will go in if I have time and type it out in a Word document or in an Excel sheet. But honestly, it's all in my notebook. And when I sell it, I can put when I sold it and what's going on there. It has been, as I'm filming this video, it has been probably 2 weeks since I recorded this video and I've sold some of the items in it actually already. But I go in and I crop pictures if I need to. I make sure that they are, if there is any staining or rips or anything, I make sure that that picture is very visible. Sometimes I'll circle it in a picture so they know that it's there if it's pretty vague and not very clear. There is a couple items on here that do have some damage. I really don't like to list items with damage unless it'll pay for itself. So even if it's damaged, it'll pay. Now this is where I go in and I type the title. I am very bad. I don't use all the characters most of the time. I just go through and type the basics. What is, the brand, the size, the color. Sometimes I put men's or women's if it's something that could be unisex, but I tend to just put what is on the tag. This is a Christmas sweater, so I'll put like Christmas or something in the theme. With this also, I want to make sure that I am vague enough to get caught in searches, but I also want to be specific enough that the buyer can find me. I do have an issue with this, and I think it's kind of funny that I run out of letters in this title, so I go through and see what I can combine, if I can combine anything. If not, the with this also, um, and I don't know if it's like a me thing or if other people have issues with the spelling of the word gray. I grew up spelling the word gray, so the color gray, Grey, but most people search Gray. And I mean, I grew up in the Midwest. I don't know why I spelled it that way, but that is all how I've always spelled gray. So sometimes the spelling of gray will trip me up. I want to make sure I have the brand right. A lot of times the drop down menus are very, very helpful. Sometimes they are not helpful, and I have to go in and find things that add things that aren't there. The Especially when it's like t-shirts, I went ahead and clicked t-shirt on this because it's a long sleeve t-shirt, but they don't have just a long sleeve shirt, like long sleeve shirt. And I think it's kind of redundant that we have to put department in here when we are saying it's in the department in the item category at the top. Sleeve type, long sleeve, the crew neck. I usually don't spend a lot of time on these categories. I try to hit basic ones: sleeve type, sleeve length, neck type, because some people want V-necks, some people want crew necks. If it's vintage, I will spend time and put vintage in there. I'm trying to see what the fabric is on this and going and looking back at the tag to make sure that what I'm doing is right. I also save all of my photos to a Google Drive, and at the end of the year, I go through and delete what has been sold as like a type of inventory unloading, and it gives me a little bit of detail, it gives me a little bit of knowledge of what's sold and what's not. I do not use the same Google Drive as I use for my actual Google Photos. I use another Google Drive for that. Now I'm going to go through and I'm going to put the price, I tend to type instead of using drop down menus when it comes to price and stuff because I don't want to accidentally mess that up. You can look at my shipping business policies. I do have 10-day handling on some of my business policies, and that's when I'm on vacation. I will go ahead and put it on 10-day handling too. I do turn my store off, but I double check to make sure that no, I don't get dinged for not getting items out on time and no customer is disappointed. So when I am on vacation, I put away and I also then put 10-day handling time. And I usually turn my vacation off 1 or 2 days before I come home. So when I get home, I can have things packed and shipped and ready to go. And they're not missing that many days. I went ahead and I did this USPS first class, 2 business days. You can have 1 business day. I always have had 2 business days. I currently have something waiting to be shipped, but it's 1 item, so I like to do 2 business days so I can scoop up more items if I need to. Some people do it once a week. Some people have 3 or 4 business days, but especially around the holidays, I think 2 business days is probably enough because people want their items very quickly. I just sold a cookbook that I'm assuming somebody wants before Christmas, so they would want the 2 days for that. Now I'm listing another draft, and this is where I'm going to speed everything up. This is the mass manipulatives from the video number 1. This is also one of the items that has already sold. So this sold within the first 2 weeks. It sold for full asking price. And then here I'm putting well used, please see photos. These were definitely used in a classroom. I have more than 12 photos, so I'm going through and deleting ones and picking other ones that I want to use. I want to make sure that I have all the photos I want. They're unbranded. It's a set. I'm going to change the description here. Please look at photos. These are plastic, fraction rounds. Again, well used, $15.99, and USPS first class. I ended up dinging myself on this. They actually weighed over a pound with the box. So I ended up sending them priority. I think I lost $2 in shipping doing that, but it wasn't horrible. I always use calculated shipping on my new items. Some old items I will put free shipping on just to move them faster, but I will use calculated shipping on everything else. And that way, when I do mess up, it's not that big of an issue. I'm going through and looking at the crib sheets now. These have not sold, but they currently have 4 watchers. So hopefully they will sell soon. I think it's also fortuitous for those of us in the reselling right now because of supply chain issues. People are going on eBay and buying more stuff because we can't find it in the stores. So far I've listed 3 items. This is my 4th item. This is the crib skirt that goes with all the crib sheets when I was taking pictures. And I'm having issues with the categories because they showed a crib skirt as an option and then they didn't show it as an option this time. So I had to go and find it. I realized I spelt it wrong and changed what it was spelt. I want to include, again, as many pictures as I can of this. I'm trying to figure out what pictures to make first and second, and if anything's fuzzy, I'm trying to get rid of it. I don't spend a long time photographing. I don't spend a long time going through and making sure all the photos are nice. My goal is like scattershot, and my goal is to take as many as rapidly as possible, and hopefully there's enough there. This is the Barney storybook now. I have not sold either one of the books, but I'm not surprised either. I'm just happy to have it out of my house. Not a huge Barney fan. That was not my generation, thankfully. My generation came before Barney, and my kids came after Barney, so that was very nice. Now they do have a lot of the pre-fill stuff. I tend not to like to use pre-fill stuff, but I definitely want to use my own pictures because I feel like the buyers might skip over it if the picture looks too fake, especially when I put like it's in good condition. Well, the picture looks perfect because it is publisher's picture. I get rid of the measurements part because I did not measure the book. $10 is the price. I'm going to ship it US media mail. Media mail is very cheap. It's very nice to ship. However, if you do ship media mail, you need to use it properly because the US Postal Service can and will open your mail to make sure what is going in there's proper thing because it is cheap. It is also a lot slower. Sometimes if there's not a huge difference between media mail and first class, I will send an item first class because I know it'll get to the buyer faster and we do want the buyer to be happy. Right now I'm getting the UPC code so I can write that down in the category that it's needed. I always, you'll see me when I list this stuff, I always go back and forth and look at pictures and list pictures and go up and down. Even with my trusty handy dandy notebook next to me that tells me everything that I'm doing. I'm making sure, again, there's no measurements in that because I didn't take measurements of the book. Make sure I'm doing, media mail 2 days. We really don't sell a lot of books, which is ironic because that's how we originally started, our selling textbooks. But books are not money makers. We will sell some one-offs here and there. Now, these are the weird statues my mom found in her basement. They're from 1968. They're apparently you paint them, like the artist made them, and then you're supposed to like paint the figurines or whatever. They're very odd, and my mom's like, here, have these wood figure. They're not wood, they're plastic. Have these plastic figurines and see if they'll sell. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I don't know. I'm not familiar with the artist. The most research I did was going back and searching on eBay and seeing what other people had listed them as. There was a lot of listings, but most of them had already been painted. So because mine had not been painted, I thought it was more desirable than those who had been painted. This is another one of the plastic figurines or statues or whatever. I will say this one has sold already. So I've sold the math manipulatives and I've sold this figurine. And this is from the Campus Cuties collection from this artist. And Again, they're meant to be painted. Mine is not painted, so she is still a blank slate. It's supposed to be a co-ed. I accidentally got pictures of the other figurines, so I had to go and delete them. I am cropping this to make it more prominent, but she did already sell, and she sold for asking price. So, but I'm not overpricing them. I don't go the lowest either. It's not a race to the bottom, and I hate that a lot of times it seems like a race to the bottom when listing things. Technically, I have no skin in this game. I did not spend any money on this. What I spent on this was sweat equity to clean out my mom's basement after it flooded. So I could list this, $5, $10, but then it's going to become a race to the bottom. So I never like to be the lowest when I'm listing. Sometimes I do run sales, and that will make me lower than others. But I also want to list high enough that I have the ability to run sales and I have the ability to make an offer to watchers. I do like making offers to watchers, but if you're racing to the bottom, you're not going to have the ability to do that. So I tend to be like one or two above the lowest. So whatever the lowest listing is, I want to be one or two listings above that. And I've had decent luck with it. I haven't had huge issues of whether or not my item's sitting for a long time. And a lot of times the lowest one will sell and then mine will be the lowest. This is vintage dress. I looked this dress up again on eBay on my phone to see what others had done, and they used the keyword boho and prairie for this dress. So I wanted to make sure I hit those keywords because those were what were used on the solds. There's way too many pictures of this dress, so I'm having to go through and click ones that maybe repeats or this keep the better of the two. I want to show the detail, and I definitely want to get the measurements because this is an unsized dress. I could not find the size tag anywhere. I think at some point my mom probably cut the tag out because it bothered her. So I like to go through and do all that. This dress has not sold yet, but it has a bunch of watchers on it. So I'm hoping when we as a store don't see a lot of sales in fourth quarter. We see most of our sales after Christmas. Christmas Day is actually a pretty big day of sales for us because people tend to be buying our stuff for themselves. So if they didn't get something, they would buy our stuff. I was seeing prices range between 100 and 200, so I put 150 on the dress. I do have buyers can make offers. I do send out offers to watchers, and I like giving myself the ability to do that. But this is a vintage dress, and I did list this as vintage. Also, with this, it's a little hinky, and I do believe this was the end of my 10 listings, which was 45 minutes long, and I got it down to just about 20. So in the next video, I will do the second half of Tub 71 on listing, and we'll go over all of that together too.